Looks like we're
There we
live.
go. There we go. Good morning, Michael Knight.
Happy New Year, New York, Vinnie.
Happy New Year to you too, or happy end of this year. Um,
I'm not sorry to see this year go.
yeah, I can't say it's been a stellar year by any stretch of the imagination. It's been kind of a, for most people, I know it's been a bummer.
I can't think of too many highlights. They put the whole year in the plus column. Had some interesting events take place in the family, the achievements of the kids, the grandkids, but the general flow of the year in terms of the human beings living another lap around the sun in our country, in our states, in our environment. Can't say too much about it. That
Well,
allows me to be
yeah,
bullish.
I consider it any year that I get to the 31st a good year. That's my own personal. I just, if I'm alive to see New Year's Eve, and we're not out of New Year's Eve yet, but if I'm here for that, I'll go with that as something. Uh, I didn't have a major illness. I took a couple of nice trips. Um, I got to 70. So I'm not gonna. Yeah, I think there was is the general condition of things around us not the greatest. Yeah, certainly not. But you could get a whole lot of people to say that it is the greatest because there are a whole lot of people that like that nitwit that's in the White House, and so. But I'm not going to let him fuck up my year.
Right.
It's just it's I go through enough of this. Trump did this and Trump did that and this and that. Good Christ! I mean, our lives are ruled by this guy, and part of America is that we can choose to avoid him as much as possible. Now, yeah, I can't avoid the things that he does, but I don't have to watch his speeches. I don't have to. I just try to avoid it. And I know that it's tough sometimes because of what we do. But, listen, if I had money, I'd get out of this country for 3 years.
Where would you
I'd
go?
go, I'd go somewhere else. I'd go sit in Italy for 3 years. If I drop dead over there, well, I died in the old country. If I had travel benefits, I'd go somewhere. I just go somewhere else. There's places in the world I've always wanted to see. This is a good time to go see them.
Don't go to Greenland because he'll come after you up there. Don't go to Venezuela.
I'm not gonna let anybody tell me where not to go. If he wants to come after me in Greenland, let him come get me. If he thinks I'm that important that he's got to come after me or he's got to do something, I feel for people who are under his attack, and we're all under his attack in one way or another. But I'm sick of letting his brand dominate my life and make me feel, And listen, part of this is the media because he's a proven ratings winner. When he talks, people pay attention to it, and it turns into ratings for the networks.
And he's got something shitty to say every day. I mean, there's no shortage of the
Every day, every fucking hour.
yeah.
I mean, this guy doesn't go an hour without saying something stupid. I can think of one smart thing he said all year.
Well, I can't imagine what that would be.
He said that he thought that we should make key trucks or K trucks in America. which are those kind of little smaller trucks that are made in Japan that you probably see. I'm sure there's a lot of them in LA. They look like kind of 3/4 of a pickup truck, and very popular up here. A lot of businesses that are in cities use them, and it serves the purpose of a pickup truck without being as big as one of these Gigunda pickup trucks. They're usually a little 4-cylinder engine, a 3-cylinder engine. And when they had this summit at the White House a couple of months ago about cars and had the manufacturers in, he I guess he saw one or something, and he said that boy, America should build more of these, should build some of these. And I couldn't, I had to stop because it was the only intelligent thing that I could remember him saying all year. And he was right. We ought to be building those trucks here.
The market wants them. Are they
So,
electric?
no, actually, they're not. They're little gas engines. I mean, they could be made electric. There's no reason why they couldn't be made electric. The infrastructure exists for them. So yeah, but that was anything else besides that. I can't think of anything else he said, and he said absolutely more hurtful things.
Well, he's good at that. He's good at the hurtful thing.
Yeah, that he's. I mean, he's a hurtful, bitter, scumbag human being. Forget president, forget office, forget anything for a second. He is just a bitter, scumbag human being. And there's a video that I saw online yesterday that is I thought, as soon as I saw it, I thought it was the product of him. And that was this woman in Manalapan, New Jersey, is a central Jersey town where many people, many of the Jewish people that have decided to get out of New York, to move to the suburbs, have moved to this part of New Jersey. It's just a little south of Staten Island, and it's near the ocean. And there's a lot of Hasidic Jews that live there. It's been that way for years. They just for whatever reason, many of them decided to settle there. So anyway, so there's this video on the internet, on Facebook, or you can just Google it and and it'll come up. And it's this woman, she's probably in her late 50s probably, and she's driving a BMW, and she hits this car in the rear. And the first thing she does is she gets out of her car, and evidently now you never see the car that she hit, but it sounds like it was a couple of these Jewish people. And the first thing out of her mouth when she gets out of the car is "fucking Jews." First thing out of her mouth. Nothing. Not "I'm sorry." You're okay. She immediately reduces them to less than human. And that's the product of what he is selling, of what he is doing. That's what he is turning America into. Now, I'm not going to say, because he'll put up a person, he loves Jewish people. But ask anybody who's been in New York a long time, and they'll tell you that he doesn't love the Jewish people. He doesn't love the New York Jewish people because they wouldn't let him into his club. They wouldn't have anything to do with him when he was in New York. But that's what you get from him.
That's how he
in my
changes the
opinion.
atmosphere.
Yeah, you get the license to hate. That's his brand. And he has enough people in this country that hate so much that when they hit somebody and they're in the wrong because they hit them in the rear, but the first thing they get out of a car and say is not "Are you okay?" Is not "I'm sorry that I hit you in the rear." Is not "Do you have any damage?" Is not "I'm sorry." It's fucking Jews.
I did not see that video. I think I'll pass.
Well, I don't like watching these things either, but there's something about it that makes me realize that if you're not one of the people that think like that, don't fool yourself into thinking that this world is changing. Don't fool yourself into thinking that people um, aren't prejudiced. So don't feel, don't fool yourself into thinking that the hippy dippy days are still around, where everybody loves everybody, because it's the furthest thing in our society from that. We've done a complete 180 from that.
So
Or maybe a
not
170.
not looking forward to the summer of love then.
Well, I'd love to see another summer of love. I'd love to see another peace, love, and Manischewitz summer. But I just don't see it in the cards. And as long as you have a president, or not even just a president, but a person of standing, who thinks like that, who endorses that kind of hate in this world, you're going to get
It's like an afternoon over at Stephen Miller's house.
I can't imagine anybody would want to go, except people that think like that. So I mean, I don't know what the answer is, Michael. I don't know. I mean, for me, and I don't know, maybe you feel the same way. I just try to love who I can love. I try not to think like that. Uh, I try to highlight people that are the opposite of that. I try to recognize people that do good things in this world and thank them for it and endorse them and say to them, "You're doing a good thing," so that they're because the people that do bad shit, the Donald Trumps of the world, get a lot of people who slap them on the back, and that's why they get like that, because there's a lot of people that say, "Yeah, that's the way you're speaking for me. That's how I feel because I've been screwed in this world." And the only way that I think it changes is if the people that don't think like that make sure that we back the people up who do think like us. The chef Jose Andres, who goes out and feeds people in disaster scenes. Um, the people that work at the food bank trying to feed people that have less than we do. The people that go out and get on the ice. People who stand there, who are willing to stand out in the street between them and the people that they're trying to take away. The people that, and we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, people in my old neighborhood who heard there was an ICE raid going on and came out of their houses and came down out of their apartments and stood in the street between the ICE and the people they were trying to take out of their houses. I'm not rich enough to help them financially, but I can help them morally. And when you see the lady get out of the car and holler, "Fucking Jew," you can point her out. And you can show that this kind of stuff still happens every day in this country. Don't know if it'll change it, Michael. I don't know. We lost a lot, though, this year. We lost people. Like we were talking the other day, we lost some good people.
Who comes to mind?
Personally and professionally. We talked a lot about Howie Klein on Monday. So many people I know have written eloquently, much more eloquently than I can write about Howie, because they knew him much more intimately than I did. They worked next to him and hung out with him. It's funny. You said who comes to mind, and I don't know. I'm trying to think of somebody that comes to mind that we lost this year. That and I probably should. Rob Reiner and his wife, I'd put up at the top of the list of people we lost this year. Good people, not just performers, not just good performers, but good activists. Good people who walked the walk that they talked. People that cared about other people. People that wanted to see the world get better.
And have a body of work that supports that point of view and that they can be proud of.
Right. But that's probably the first two people that come to mind. And it was shocking how they were gone. But look at what they left behind. Look at the creativity. Look at the love. Look at the people that they helped along the way. I don't know.
And the brand of entertainment they were known for.
Yeah. I mean, how much did you go back and you think about Reiner's first role? Well, not first role, but his early role as Meathead, as Archie Bunker's son-in-law. Would have Carol O'Connor's Archie Bunker, Norman Lear's writing been as powerful as it was if he didn't have Meathead,
his foil
in the picture? But we got to see an unbelievable portrayal, and for the first time on TV, a portrayal of somebody we all knew, of somebody many of us grew up with.
The Archie Bunker that we all know.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, that's, I mean, that's the one, I guess, that really comes to mind for me immediately. Sad that we had a loser, and also sad that, let's face it, 10 years ago, I probably could have sat here. Well, 10 years ago, I could have probably sat here and read off to you in my mind exactly who passed away this year, like that. My mind doesn't go there anymore. My mind doesn't work. My memory.
Well, it was a long year. You don't know what month Brian Wilson died in necessarily. You remember that this was the year that he left. He left town. He left the beach. He left Surfing USA behind. He left the 409 behind. He left Little Surfer Girl behind. And it's hard to put together a list without having him at or near the top in terms of his contribution to society. Not all roses and rainbows. He had a tough ride with his family life, his personal life, his difficulty with mental health. And yet, when it came time to write a song, all the negatives that we've discussed right there on that brief list get put aside and forgotten about for the moment. And you think of the great productivity, the creativity, the style, the elements of song that he made his own. And that's a difficult thing to do. There's only 12 notes to play with if you're a musician. How are you going to take those 12 notes and make something unique? It's not that easy. But for Brian Wilson, the sound that he could come up with was a trademark. It was known immediately by the fans, by the music lovers of America and the world. He was a stylist. He was a creator. He was a one in a million and 1 in 10 million, perhaps. The sounds that he made just for good vibrations is enough to build a career on.
Yeah. I mean, he was a talent that he captured a time in those notes of music that you talk about. He captured a time that touched us all in so many different areas. And I think you really made a great point through mental illness. I mean, he was a sick bird.
Yeah.
He was a sick bird, but yet through that mental illness, he never lost his attachment to his avenue to reach our souls. He never lost his way to reach us. Now, he might have gone out in some crazy paths and different, some of the stuff was a little wild, but from when we were running up and down the California coast in GTOs and Malibus to right on through to to our lives as older people and parenthood and surviving in a world that was radically changing around us. He was able to take those 12 notes and put them together to make us think about it, to make us feel about it. So in that respect, a great loss to the world. But again, a loss to the world of somebody who leaves a body of work that will be listened to 1,000 years from now. 1,000 years from now, people will know who Brian Wilson is. Just as they'll know who the Beatles are. Just as they'll know who Mick Jagger is, the Rolling Stones. They'll know. because their influence on this period of time was so profound. Just like we know today who Michelangelo is, or pick anybody from a time period 1,000 years ago or 500 years ago.
He was part of our own Renaissance.
Yeah, who were at the top of their game, who influenced the world with what they did. I hope we don't lose that with computers and internet and all of the different things that are going on, artificial intelligence. We lost somebody I got a chance to work with not too many years ago, albeit not directly, but I was lucky enough to sit and have lunch with her and to work on a movie with. That's Diane Keaton.
What film?
Christmas at the Coopers, which was filmed in Pittsburgh. I got a chance to. I did 3 days on that film, and my car got into the film, but I didn't get into the film, which still has been a little frustrating. But you know what? It was worth it because number one, I got paid for 3 days. I got paid for my car for 3 days. And I got to sit and have lunch with Connie Corleone. Not Connie, but with Kay Corleone. For me, what the hell? But a fascinating woman, a kind woman. You could just sense it in talking to her.
What did you guys have for lunch?
Craft service is something.
That's Hollywood, baby.
I'm not sure exactly what it was. It was some kind of soup because it was cold. It was snowing. And we're in the basement of a church.
They set up the tables for lunch.
And we went in, and there was some kind of soup. Like I want to say it was a barley soup or something like that. I think it was vegetarian, actually. And I might have had like a tuna salad sandwich or something like that, or egg salad. It was some kind of salad. I remember that. But it was just, she had an empty seat across from her, and I said, "Can I mind if I sit down?" "Oh, please, sit down." And we talked about New York, and I talked to her about she had many years earlier had stood on line in Disneyland with my daughter.
Huh.
And they had struck up a conversation, 20 years before that. It was Erin, like 10, maybe, something like that. And so I told her, my daughter met you years ago. You were at Disneyland, and you probably don't remember. You probably met so many people, but she's a little girl, and you were talking to her for a while, and yada, yada. And, she said, yeah, I kind of, I remember. I don't know if she really did or not, but, she said, yeah, to make me feel good.
Sure.
But as a force majeure in the movies, think of how many characters. Think of she kind of played the same role in many movies.
Yeah.
In her later career,
the character that came out of her work with Woody Allen transcended a lot of her appearances to come.
Right. It and her work as Kay Corleone, Kay Adams, Kay Corleone. She nailed it. She nailed what it probably was to be a high-level mafia guy's wife. but not in the Goodfellas sense.
She wasn't a girl from the neighborhood.
Right. Exactly. She wasn't um, Lorraine Bracco. You know, she didn't play that. You know, that Goodfellas wife, or she didn't play uh, the Sharon Stone in Casino, or what's his name's Joe Pesci's wife, which were very different types of mafia wives. You know, they're much more the product. She didn't even play um, uh, um, Tony Soprano's wife, who kind of played a hybrid of Kay Corleone and the Lorraine Bracco
Right.
mafia wife in Goodfellas. Kind of a a hybrid there. But I just thought, you know, just what a great actress and just what a nice person. You know, again, you never know if they're really nice people. I never talked to her dry cleaner or her delivery guy from Gristides to see how she tipped. You know, but my encounter with her was a wonderful experience. You know, oh, uh, another guy that was an activist that we lost was Robert Redford.
Yes.
Again, somebody who did so much for promoting film
And who
and
sponsored creativity for the breakthrough film, the smaller film, the art house film with the Sundance Film Festival. Got a lot of people work, got a lot of people recognized, and found something that he could endorse and push and be proud of.
put his power behind it.
Yeah, put his
Put
influence.
his A-list status, and believe me, there was nobody more A-list than Robert Redford in Hollywood in his time, in a very different Hollywood than we know today, and also a very different Hollywood. And you can speak to this, Michael. It was when he first started. You know, I mean, when Robert Redford first started, the studio system was still intact. It was still something.
And he had to convince through his work the executives that he was a bankable star. He was worthy because he had tagged along with Paul Newman and others before him. And his work as a supporting actor was equal to the performance of the major name in those films. Redford did not go on anybody's coattails. He made his own reputation with his performance and his presence.
Yeah.
And he became a reliable. If you didn't know the movie, you could still buy a ticket to see a Robert Redford film because you knew that it was going to be worthy. It was going to be a good way to spend your time. He didn't make dogs.
He didn't have too many lemons, did he?
No. No, not at all. Which says something about his judgment in taking projects. Didn't have to be All the President's Men. It could be a Western. It could be a film about men on the edge of society enjoying their time together, but realizing that there was a dangerous edge to their lifestyle, and that brought everything into focus.
Didn't he do a film? It's escaping me now, but didn't he do a film about? Was it walking the Appalachian Trail?
I don't know. Is it a documentary?
No, no, it was a film, and it was, and I'm trying to think of this damn film, and I don't know. I'll have to, but it's just sticking in my mind that I saw. It was one of those films that I saw it like on HBO or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
and wasn't that long ago, maybe less than 10 years ago, and he was, you know, on the Appalachian Trail, and he was trying to prove his virility to his son or something like that. I don't know. I'll have to look it up. We also lost Pope Francis this past year. Um, and when you think about it, uh, a year that we see the first American Pope.
Extraordinary event.
Yeah, I mean, whether you're Catholic, you're not Catholic, whatever. The idea that there is an American Pope.
Doesn't make any sense when you talk about it. It sounds crazy.
But here we are talking about a Pope that's a White Sox fan.
That's hard to believe.
But Pope Francis, who, I'm not going to stand up and say that he was perfect or he was this or he was that. But you know what? He again he moved the needle on getting an organization into a more liberal, more modern stance on things. And he understood the plight of the poor and people who didn't have as much because he didn't have as much. He came from a place of helping people, of understanding people that don't have, and very vocal in speaking up against Donald Trump, questioning whether he was a man of Jesus.
A question that has been answered since
Yeah,
then.
yeah. I think the question has been answered.
Yeah.
So those are just a few of the people.
I wanted to mention Sly Stone for a number of reasons. I got to see him when he was coming up, when Dance to the Music and his early hits were champions of radio, where his work as a producer, a writer, and the leader of the band, with his brother, with his sister, with his multicultural presentation of his hits. Before the cocaine took over, it was an extraordinary phenomenon. And if you saw them live at the Fillmore, as I did a number of times, they would tear the place apart. They would absolutely bounce the stage across the room. The energy level and the performance intensity is something that you cannot overestimate. It was amazing to see. Amazing. And go back and listen to his first 10 hits. Extraordinary songs. Everyday people. That applies today as it did then. It was a damn shame that he got in with the blow as thoroughly as he did. He never came out. He never emerged clean, sober, any of that nonsense. None of it was available to him. Wherever he went, there was no way home. And that's a sad last chapter of the story, but the first chapters, the initial,
Got a
the
lot to
initial.
say. And you're so right about him blowing the house down. I mean, I remember seeing him in '69.
Yeah.
In the Forest Hills Tennis Stadium before they played the U.S. Open at what was the Singer Bowl, now is the Louis Armstrong Stadium, well, now the Arthur Ashe Tennis Center.
Right.
They used to have the U.S. Open at the Forest Hills Tennis Center, which was a much smaller, much more intimate place. And they used to have the Forest Hills Music Festival there every year in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
And for $2.75 a ticket, you usually got to see 3 bands on a beautiful night in an ivy-covered stadium in Forest Hills, which was a beautiful section of Queens and within walking distance of my house. You could leave my house and at 5 o'clock in the afternoon and walk there and be there by 7, or take the bus. Depended on what kind of fuel you were on that night.
Yeah. I gotta walk. You want to walk? No, I gotta walk.
I gotta walk. Nothing there I want to do. It's what I gotta do. But I saw him there. I saw him he was a must see. Whenever he would come to New York, I saw him at the Cafe Wa once.
Wow.
Which, you want to talk about blowing the roof off of a place. He blew the roof off the basement. I mean,
they knew they could do it. They knew they could do that. They could summon that energy and will it to happen.
As a matter of fact, I don't know if this is true or not. I've heard this story. I've never really found out if it was true, and I probably should check it out sometime. I'm sure with the internet now, you could probably research it. But the story just came to my mind. I don't even really think about it. But I believe, and I wasn't there for this, but the story I have heard is that Sly did not show up for a show at the Cafe Wa. And at the last minute, they had to get somebody to substitute for him. The excuse was they were stuck on a road, yada, yada, yada. And the band that was brought in as a substitute for Sly Stone was a band called the Castiles, who I'm sure you know was fronted by some guy named Bruce Springsteen. Last minute phone call to, quick, we got to get somebody for tonight. Start making calls.
Wow. No, I'd never heard that story.
Yeah, I've heard that story several times from a couple of different people. So one of these days I got to, it's one of those stories you don't really think about all the time unless somebody mentions the name. But even if it's, right now it's a baseball story. Probably some modicum of truth to it. But who knows how long how it's been embellished. Maybe the Castiles were on there as the opening act or something. Some form of that. The time frame seems to fit. So if anybody knows, let us know. A
lot of the people on my list are big stars. Peter Yarrow from Peter, Paul and Mary. Ace Frehley from Kiss. Mark Volman from the Turtles.
Yes, Mark Volman.
But there's a guy named Joey Molland, Molland. You may not know his name, but you know the band he was in. He was in Badfinger, the ill-fated Badfinger, where 2 of the members committed suicide. They were on Apple Records. They had everything going for them. They had hits written by Paul McCartney and themselves. and they could not escape the swirl, the maelstrom of not success, the opposite of success, not failure, just the failure to penetrate the charts, to be a big star, to do all the things you would think that they were expected to do, being on Apple Records, being a British band, having the backing of the Beatles. It was a curse that never quit. And he was the last surviving member of the band that met its. They sold their soul to become a hit, and it didn't work. The soul was gone, but the hits did not come, and the recognition and the adulation that they deserved. They were a good band. They sounded great. Listen to Baby Blue. Fantastic.
No matter
song.
what you are. And those were hits. I mean,
Yeah.
But they couldn't sustain it. They couldn't keep it going.
The good stuff did not come with the rest of it. It just never happened for them. It was fascinating. So
Yeah,
it's a tale. It's a cautionary tale. Another guy whose name is right next to him was a fellow named John Lodge. You may not know John Lodge by name, but you certainly know the band he was in. He was in the Moody Blues. And for a band to have its own identity is difficult. The Moody Blues did that in cups. They had their own style. They had their own sound. They had their own harmonies. They had their own use of orchestration. And Nights in White Satin was the one that kicked it off. Going Out was their first hit, but Nights in White Satin was like the peak of their influence on the rest of the music industry. And John Lodge, managed a solo career, managed a group career, managed to be part of the hits of the 70s, the great music of the golden era of rock and roll. And an unlikely candidate because the Moody Blues were not a rock and roll band. They weren't a folk band. They weren't a heavy metal band. They had their own sound and categorization. They were a different band. They were completely different, off the charts in terms of their uniqueness. So I remember him for his death this year. And I think some of the guys are still with us. Their drummer died last year before, I should say. So we're down to like one last member. Who's the guy who sang Nights in White Satin?
Justin Hayward? No.
Thank you. That's it, Justin Hayward. Yeah. I think he's still with us.
Yeah, I believe he is. We should. I don't know about you, but in my younger days, there was there a sexier woman? Well, maybe she was the last of the sex kittens. But Brigitte Bardot passed away. And when you go back to that era of the Sophia Loren's, Brigitte Bardot, who is the one with Claudine Longet? That late 50s, early 60s object. I mean, really, it's there's no other way to put it, but they were just an object of men's lust, and I'm sure many women too. They just weren't talking about it then. But boy, again, and who later became quite an animal rights activist. Quite a big
and it wasn't until later that we discovered that she had a sort of a ugly right wing side to her beliefs.
Yeah, I hadn't seen that, but as I always say, we don't know these people. We don't know what they're thinking. Um, Remember a guy named Pat Finn?
No, what's his name?
Pat Finn was an actor. He was in Murphy Brown in the middle. Dude, Where's My Car? Did some other stuff. I believe for a short time he did weather in San Francisco. Maybe on Channel 4 on Kron.
Well, that doesn't ring a bell.
He was in Dude, Where's My Car? Um, Chris Rea also passed away this year.
Yeah, just recently, right?
Yeah, who has a great Christmas song that doesn't get any kind of play, but it's a matter of fact, and had two car songs. Both one is the Christmas song, "Driving Home for Christmas,"
Mm-hmm.
and another car song, "The Road to Hell." But his big hit in America was "Fool If You Think It's Over," which was a huge yacht rock hit. They call it yacht rock now, but huge AOR hit back in the 70s. Yeah, I guess it was the late 70s.
He had a distinctive voice and great guitars too.
Yeah, it was. I'm glad to see that. The what I always I don't like it, but what I always go to is the Wikipedia puts a great list together of people who died because it's not only just like uber famous people, but it's just people of note. You know, so you get guys like Andy Costco, who was a baseball player, most notably with the Dodgers. I had Andy Costco's baseball glove when I was probably 10 years old. I don't think it was my first glove, but somebody had given me an Andy Costco baseball glove. So
There probably couldn't have been too many of those.
I wish I had it now. Anyway, just a year. Listen, people die every year. A lot of notable people passed away, but those are just some of the people that from the racing world. Greg Biffle died in a plane crash. Um,
Just last week.
yeah,
I want to
and
mention Sam Moore, Sam and Dave.
right.
Talk about a performer. Talk about a great sound. You can't help but turn up the radio when a Sam and Dave hit comes on. They captured the fun of music, and the groove was classic Atlantic Records. It was a golden age of hits and soul hits, and they were part of it, even though they didn't get along that well later in life.
Always loved I Thank You.
Yeah.
It just had a back and forth to it. Didn't have to love me like you did, but you did, and you did. And I thank you. And a little organ riff in there. Yeah. Um, What are you doing for New Year's?
Probably nothing.
Now, do you try to make it up, stay up, or do you just you turn in early?
I'm not even convinced that that is on my list of things to do. Might watch a couple murders, proper English murders, and that might get me to midnight. We'll see when the fireworks start going off in town, because the next big day is the parade. Pasadena has a little parade that you may have heard of.
Yeah,
And,
I hear the people turn up. Now there are a ton of people. I'm camped out on the parade already, right? Don't they put their tree out there on New Year's Eve?
This is going to be a little different because it's supposed to pour, and that's going to prevent the campers from establishing their beachhead. But yes, the traditions were camp out, get your spot on the sidewalk, and throw tortillas. That was the considered to be a harmless missile that could be sailed through the air. If you get your tortillas flying just right, it'll come in like a frisbee. If you don't, it's just a lump of flour or corn, depending on your choice.
I love it. Oh man,
The thing that what people don't realize is that the night before the morning parade, the parade starts at 8 in the morning, but the staging of the floats starts at 10 o'clock the night before, and they line up the floats on Orange Grove Boulevard in their correct order, and they do it hours and hours before, so they stay up all night long, and you can walk on Orange Grove and walk right by the floats. You can be part of the staging, and hundreds of people do. So that would be some. If I were going to show Pasadena in its good light for someone visiting, I would go the night before and walk among the staged floats, because it's just insane.
Beautiful.
It's quite a scene.
You know, it's interesting. They used to do something similar, or did something similar for the Thanksgiving Day parade in New York. They would line up the parade floats on Central Park West, and a couple of years ago, I think not more than 2 or 3 years ago, somebody got the idea that we should broadcast that. And you know what happens when they broadcast something? It just brings out the absolute best in people.
Yeah.
So
they didn't do that again.
Yeah. So no, actually they did it again this year, but I saw part of the broadcast that, because some cable channel thought it would be a good idea. You know, now that all these channels have, all of these local stations have 7 or 8 different sub channels, up here we have King 5 and then King 5 Plus, which used to be Kong, and all these other different 2 or 3 other channels. They have to find content. And so that's now content.
Yeah. Consider this content.
So they find 2 YouTubers to stand out there and describe what's going on and show the turn what used to be a nice pleasant stroll along Central Park West to watch the people blow up the balloons. Now it's turned into people coming over from different states and everything, and just turn it into an event. So nothing's sacred. Nothing's sacred anymore.
Let me take one look at my list to see if there's anybody important. I left out Steve Cropper and Garth Hudson. Steve Copperfield guitars for Booker T and the MGs. Garth Hudson, the keyboard player for the band.
Joe Ely, too.
Joe Ely, the great country Tex-Mex star.
Guitarist, passed Parkinson's disease.
Rick Davies from Supertramp. Terry Reid, the great Leather Lungs. And Bobby Whitlock, the harmony singer and contributor to Derek and the Dominoes. What else do we have? Tom Lehrer, the great satirist. Don't know if he's a musician or a comedian. Mick Ralphs, the power chord king of Bad Company and Mott the Hoople. He wrote some of the hits that Bad Company had. He wrote them while he was still in Mott the Hoople, but they couldn't sing them. So he just kept them in a drawer when Paul Rodgers could sing anything. And when they put together Bad Company, I Can't Get Enough of Your Love suddenly came out of the drawer and became a monster hit. Nick Ralphs. Rick Derringer. Bobby Sherman.
Yeah, Bobby Sherman. My sister went through a week of mourning. You know who else passed away this year? And I had heard about it. You know what? I don't think we mentioned it when it actually happened. But Mae Britt passed away at 91 years old. And does her name ring a bell?
Married to Sammy Davis Jr.
Married to Sammy Davis Jr. from 1960 to 68, something like that. Caused an uproar in the 60s because Sammy married a white woman.
Swedish white, about as white as you can get.
Yeah, it was a I don't want to say a scandal, but I hate saying it was a scandal, but it was a scandal in those days.
It was beyond belief for some housewives in Schenectady.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Or in Northern California, or in Idaho, or
Hayward, California.
In Hayward, yeah, many places. Redding,
And another female on that list who outraged America and society in general, Marianne Faithfull, who had a career as a singer and as a drug addict, and later as someone who recovered from both. Came back with the final albums of her career with a different voice and a different approach.
And Lonnie Anderson passed away this year too, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Lonnie Anderson. Anyway, yes.
And we can't forget Ozzy Osbourne, who is on everybody's list. And one of the best drummers of the 70s and 80s, Clem Burke, who was in Blondie. Great drummer. Clem Burke. Jesse Colin Young. Can't forget our Bay Area singer.
Yeah, I just heard get together as I was out shooting the car of the week this morning. And maybe the guy who passed away, maybe the best name of everybody who passed away this year. At 96 years old, Swiss property dealer and football club president of FC Zurich, Sven Hotz.
I forgot about him.
Sven Hotz. I mean, if you go through life with a name like Sven Hotz, God bless you, man. Once you get out of school
Made it to 96.
He got 96 years out of that name.
Good effort, Sven.
You're in a bar, you meet somebody, and so she smiles and he says, "All right, well, Sven, what's your last name?" And he goes, "Hots." And she gets up. Right out of the bar.
Got to take the good with the bad. Well, we got Miami and Ohio State later today. I'm putting my emotional support behind University of Miami, of course, and beating the Ohio State University would be too tasty.
Yeah, I got no use for Ohio State University, so I'll be, especially because one of their more famous alumni is the noted politician and former wrestling coach who watched over a Jerry Sandusky-esque incident at the Ohio State University, Jim Jordan. So
he's lost his luster, hasn't he?
Well, he's been quiet. Two other, I just wanted to, because we were talking about music before we go. I can't believe I didn't mention this. But Jerry Castanets of the Castanets, who produced 1 million of those bubblegum hits of the 70s. Yummy, Yummy, Yummy. Little bit of soul. Simon Says, put your hand on your head. Simple Simon Says. And they had their own thing. They were part of the White Whale, I believe, stable of artists who got screwed. And you mentioned Mark Volman before, and Mark Volman and his partner, his longtime friend and business partner,
Howard Kalin,
have millions of stories to tell about the fine folks at White Whale Records, who, along with many record people, never met an artist that they didn't like to screw.
Bigger the hit, the bigger the opportunity.
Yeah. We talked about Howie Klein, and I just wanted to go back to him for a second, because one of the things that people don't know about Howie Klein, you probably wouldn't know this if you were not involved in the music business, is the way he stood up for artists. In his, Howie was a record company executive, but he certainly, and when I talked about Howie, I said, he was, loved by many, not loved by a lot. Most of the people that didn't like him were music executives, because Howie would argue endlessly for artists' rights and a fair deal for the artists, of which record company executives were not really used to doing.
Not committed to it.
Not committed to it at all. And Howie was one of those people who realized that to keep the endless well of talent going, that there had to be an equity. There had to be a fairness to it. And Howie fought for that fairness. With 415 and also with Sire and Reprise. Although Reprise was a bit of a different story, because they were owned by, in their early days, owned by Sinatra, and they were born of the artists not getting a fair deal from Capitol Records.
Right.
God bless you, by the way.
There's another one for you.
God bless you. And we'll close it out, Mikey, with Rory McLeod. from Roomful of Blues, who was killed in a car accident earlier this year. Was their bass player for many years. And I forget where he passed away, but I remember hearing that too. So that's a little bit of a mention of names, a roll call of many people who passed away this year. And one of the incredible things about what we do, Michael, is that next year time we'll be able to come back and have a whole new list of people. Nobody that was on this list this year
will be on the list
will
next
be
year.
on it next year.
Not even David Johansen or Dexter Poindexter.
Yeah, we lost Buster Poindexter. Yeah, we lost. It's funny because I used to call him Dexter Poindexter too. What a great artist, man. I mean, I saw him when he was in the New York Dolls, and I saw him at the Coventry on Queens Boulevard. They used to do it like
I should reschedule, but I think I'll just call you tomorrow or the
and then
next day.
saw him again
Whenever.
at
Have a happy New Year and thank you. I'm really sorry.
Bimbo's.
Okay, thank you.
365.
Bye.
Yeah, when Bimbo's 365 when he came to town as Buster Poindexter with that band that he had. And ha. All right, man. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Vin. Have a great New Year.
Have a great New Year.
2026. Let it come.
Yes, bring it on. We'll be here ready for it. Or we hope we will.
Shall I see you Friday?
Between now and midnight. I'll see you Friday if the Lord's willing. The creek don't rise, pal.
Freaky Friday. See you then, Vin.
Freaky Friday. Peace, love, Manischewitz, man.
What a wine. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Michael. Happy New Year, everybody. See you on Friday. Take care.